The 2019 NFL season is about to start, and there is a lot of NFL news to talk about. What is going on, y'all? 5 Sports Hall back at it with another video talking, of course, some NFL. As I mentioned, if you're new to the channel, welcome. Make sure to go ahead and subscribe by hitting the big red subscribe button down below and turn on my post notifications so you're notified every time I drop a new video, which I do so very often. And while you're at it, make sure to follow me on my social media links down below and on the screen for my Twitter and my Instagram. So I am debuting a new segment on this channel where it's basically a roundtable, if you will, of quick hits. Okay, so there's a lot of NFL news I want to talk about. And instead of spreading it out into multiple different videos, I decided to combine it all into one video. Basically go through, various NFL news and give you guys my quick takes on them. To give you guys, obviously the summaries and then give you guys my straight up analysis. Now, I could also, like I mentioned, split it up into different videos, but I'm trying something new. So let me know if you guys like this or not. I will obviously read your guys' comments and act accordingly to that. So talking about Ezekiel Elliott and Melvin Gordon's holdout. We got the Jadaveon Clowney trade we got to talk about. The Indianapolis Colts extended Jacoby Brissette. Was that the right move or not? So a lot to get into. I don't want to wait any longer. Let's get started. So I'll start with the two biggest holdouts that have been going on all through the NFL offseason. We'll start, of course, with Melvin Gordon and the Los Angeles Chargers. And as of the latest news that we have heard or that I've seen, and I'm sure you guys have as well, the Chargers are done with Melvin Gordon. And what I mean by done is they are done negotiating with Melvin Gordon. The Chargers GM came out and basically said, listen, we're not negotiating anymore. Not until the end of the season. So it's suspended, the talks, until then, in terms of whether or not they're going to give Melvin Gordon that contract, whether or not they're going to extend him. So that's it. So if you own Melvin Gordon in fantasy football, that is not the news you want to hear. And I had a lot of drafts this past weekend. Of course, I avoided Melvin Gordon, got Austin Eckler in a lot of leagues, which I'm happy about because it does not look like Melvin Gordon is going to play. So here's my quick take on this. Melvin Gordon is not going to report. He's not going to play because he has already held out, and it makes no sense now to, go back to the Chargers and just start playing because the Chargers have basically said, we don't need you, Melvin Gordon. We are moving forward without you. We've got two capable backs in Austin Eckler and Justin Jackson. Now, here's my take on the Chargers side of things here. I believe they made the right move because Melvin Gordon, the money he's looking for, he's not worth it. Not to the Chargers, at least. Maybe it could be to another team, but not to the Chargers, okay? This is not the Le'Veon Bell situation. The Chargers went 4-0 without Melvin Gordon last year. They have a prolific offense, Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and of course, Phillip Rivers there. And I mentioned the two running backs. So to them, not to mention also tight end Hunter Henry. So to them, they are fine without Melvin Gordon, and they don't want to pay him the money he's looking for. Now, Melvin Gordon's reportedly looking for $13 to $15 million a year. The Chargers are comfortable in the $10 million range, and so I don't believe the Chargers are going to budge. And now we know that they're not going to budge. As for Melvin Gordon, again, as far as, him playing his cards here, I don't believe this was the right call for him because he should have known he's not as important to this organization as, say, Ezekiel Elliott is to the Cowboys, which I'll get into in a second. So for Melvin Gordon, I'm not a fan of him holding out, and it looks like he's going to have to keep holding out for the foreseeable future for anything to happen here. Because for Melvin Gordon, Chargers aren't budging, and it's either, he reports and he plays on his current contract or he doesn't play at all. And as far as what I saw on his IG, you guys can go check it out. He posted on his IG, pay me or he's not going to play. So he's just not going to play. So like I said, I don't think Melvin Gordon played this right because the Chargers don't need him as much as, other backs are needed on their teams. Running back's a devalued position. I admire him for trying here, but you got to be calculated. This was not the right move for Melvin Gordon. If you look at it from a business standpoint, I don't blame the Chargers either for not wanting to pay Melvin Gordon. Now let's move on to Ezekiel Elliott and the Dallas Cowboys, and here is the latest on that. There had been some optimism on the Cowboys and Ezekiel Elliott coming to a contract extension and getting Zeke the money that he wants, but as of the latest after that, it was that there's still been a break, and obviously we don't have a contract right now. So my 2 cents on this is if I am the Dallas Cowboys, I pay Ezekiel Elliott. Look, I've been adamant about this. You don't build your whole offense around the running back and then don't pay the running back, because this is not like the Tony Romo, DeMarco Murray situation back in 2014. DeMarco Murray, while he was very good that year and an MVP candidate, Tony Romo was a very capable quarterback. And Tony Romo is a better quarterback than Dak Prescott is now, in the sense that he can do a lot more than Dak Prescott. I still believe Dak Prescott's a very limited quarterback in sense of what he is able to do without a running game, without the weapons needed, without a good defense. So if you're the Cowboys and if you're Jerry Jones and you want a Super Bowl, you need to pay Ezekiel Elliott. If you think Tony Pollard can come in and replace Zeke, and I think you're mistaken here, because I don't think that's going to happen. You have to, of course, pay Dak Prescott, so that shouldn't affect that much on what you do with Ezekiel Elliott. And I know the Cowboys have to pay a lot of guys, but you built this offense around Zeke. You built it around Zeke. If you didn't build it around Zeke, I'd be like, fine, don't pay Zeke. But if you build it around him, and he's led the league in rushing 2 of the last 3 years, the only reason he didn't lead it 3 years in a row is because he was suspended one of those years. If you built it around Zeke, you got to pay the man, okay? And to me, for the Cowboys, that is how I feel as far as Ezekiel Elliott. Of course, he's just like Melvin Gordon. He's dug in at this point. It would make no sense for him to report. Now, the bad thing is, again, this is not the Le'Veon Bell situation. The Cowboys control him for 2 more years. So if he sits out this year, then the Cowboys still have his rights, okay? But, again, the running back's a brutal position. I don't blame Ezekiel Elliott for holding out because, look, he has been the man for the Cowboys. Go ahead and let's see what happens if the Cowboys play without Ezekiel Elliott. We know how the numbers when Ezekiel Elliott is not on the team. The Cowboys are just not the same squad. So, again, if I'm the Cowboys, I would pay Zeke, and Zeke's going to hold out, and let's see his value is going to be proven worth or not in the first couple of games. They have easy matchups, but again, if you have Super Bowl aspirations, and I know Jerry Jones and the Cowboys do, you need Ezekiel Elliott. You got to pay the man. Now let's switch over to the Houston Texans, who made a lot of moves over the last couple of days. They traded away their stud defensive player, Jadaveon Clowney, to the Seattle Seahawks for Jacob Martin, Barkevious Mingo, and a 3rd-round pick. I believe the Texans got fleeced. Straight up. There is no other way to put it. They got robbed on this deal. The Seattle Seahawks just absolutely took them to school on this move. The only good thing about it is they got a draft pick. But again, if this was the best offer you had, then you failed. And the Texans failed in this aspect, okay? I know you wanted to get rid of Jadaveon Clowney in terms of not paying him, but you couldn't get anything better than this. 2, subpar defensive players and a 3rd-round pick. Really? For one of the better upcoming, young, rising, defensive ends in the NFL? That's a fail on the Texans. Now let's switch over to the other trade they made. They traded away 2 first-round picks in the 2nd rounder to the Miami Dolphins for offensive tackle Laramie Tunsil and Kenny Stills. This trade I do like. I like this a lot, and I know a lot of people were hating, on the Texans for, trading away 2 first-round picks and a 2nd rounder for a tackle. But here's the thing. You just saw what happened to Andrew Luck. You have to protect your quarterback, and the Texans have had one of the worst offensive lines over the past couple of seasons. Everybody knows that. Deshaun Watson has been taking hit after hit after hit. Protect your main asset, your quarterback, or you might send him into early retirement like Andrew Luck. So as much as people are hating on this, I have no issues with it. Laramie Tunsil is one of the best, linemen in the NFL. He's going to be able to protect Deshaun Watson's blind side for a decade plus. This was worth it. I don't care how many first-round picks you gave up. And not to mention, you added Kenny Stills, just more offensive firepower to that team. Deshaun Watson now is Hopkins, Will Fuller, and Kenny Stills. Now that, they, of course, also lost Lamar Miller, so that adds a little bit of depth to their offensive weapons. So I like this move for the Texans. As far as the Dolphins, no problem here either. I think it was a win-win for both teams because the Dolphins are rebuilding. They need to accumulate as many picks as possible. You're not going anywhere with that current team. You're just trying to evaluate what you have right now. So to me, this trade for both sides, I believe it was a win-win. I like it for the Texans. I like it for the Dolphins. Now, finally, let's talk about the Indianapolis Colts extending quarterback Jacoby Brissette to a 2-year, $30 million deal. And here's my thing. Could you have waited? Like, really? Could you have waited? I don't understand the hype around Jacoby Brissette. Is he a good backup quarterback? Absolutely. But that is the key word. Backup quarterback. Not a starting quarterback, a backup quarterback. And now that he is your starting quarterback, I don't believe you should have just jumped the gun to pay Jacoby Brissette. Now, some, experts on Twitter, I'm talking about the analysts, were saying that this might be a bargain a few years from now, but this is the same Jacoby Brissette back in 2017, played 15 games. Folks, he had 13 touchdowns, 7 picks in 15 games. That is awful. I mean, that is bad, okay? So Jacoby Brissette, to me, is a very limited quarterback. He's okay, but nothing great. He's a perfect backup quarterback. That's what he is. He can come in for a few games and hold the ship steady and not tank it, okay? So you're paying that without really seeing, and I know you have a better team now, better offensive line, better weapons, better coaching staff, but to me, it just felt a little bit rushed here. I don't understand why the Colts can just wait out this season to pay Jacoby Brissette. I don't believe he's a franchise quarterback at all. I don't think so. To me, Jacoby Brissette is a backup quarterback with maybe borderline starter, if you will, but the last time I saw him, I was not impressed at all. So I don't understand the Indianapolis Colts, going bonkers for Jacoby Brissette right away without really seeing what he could do. So to me, again, in fantasy football too, I downgraded all the weapons for the Colts because of the injury to Andrew Luck, folks. You have to understand, Andrew Luck was a once-in-a-lifetime player. He's a generational talent. And to go from him to Jacoby Brissette's a huge loss, okay? So to me, I'm not a fan of what the Indianapolis Colts did. That's just how I feel about it. I think they could have waited and seen how Jacoby Brissette played this year before committing all that money to him. And they also signed Brian Hoyer, again, backup quarterback, to just provide some depth. But again, to me, this didn't make too much sense to me. I was not a fan of it at all. So there you have, folks, my quick hits around the NFL, all the NFL news. Again, if you like this format, you guys want me to keep it, let me know down below in the comments. Or I could switch it up, do separate videos, give more in-depth analysis as well. I can do that. Let me know what you guys think, man. If you agree with me or disagree on any of the takes, leave a comment down below. Make sure to subscribe as always. Thanks for watching.